Oh, we got virtual too. Ooh. Gonna be streaming. A few places actually. Ah.
It's just outside.
Good. Genre. We have about 4 minutes. Yes, where's the closest bathroom? Actually, straight downstairs. Yeah, downstairs. Basically, 2 floors down, and in this corner. 2 floors down. For the ladies, it's closer. This floor. Are you ready?
That's what I see.
Yeah, we got some web stuff, you guys. Nobody's gonna move into the first. That's right. I'm good. CHI, we're gonna want to. They really died. Okay, if you live in the boxes and smell. Yeah, important then. I would expect that. It was a part of the yeah.
Well, then.
Right. Yeah. We did. Can you guys hear us okay?
Hi, Raphael. Yeah,
Nice. Very
I can
nice.
see you. Yeah,
You could see me through the presentation too, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go here, then you go over there. Twilight Zone.
Yes. I'm not sure I'm loving that. Like a chair.
Right now, it's hard to see anyone because it's.
Yeah, they remove the presentation to be able to see us all. Oh, you never know why you like to. I've seen it. Yeah, is that?
Okay, yeah. Now I can see. I can see a lot of people. This is good.
From voice, it's the highest.
Oh, well, no, I don't know, somebody just.
How goes it, Brian? Yeah. Yeah. You're 2 this term, 1 next term. Yeah. Once you got 175, 176. It will be better soon. This is our, what I call urine related salvation army for now. I rebuild what we got. It takes a lot of people. Yeah, you know, actually just got this race. Yes, they are. Yeah, gotta get a nice screen here. Monitor there, camera. Ready. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, how are you? We never get cold though, thank you for now. Yeah, never do. Get cold, mister. Yeah, it works. Today I wanted to first thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to our center. We just opened our doors this fall. It's our first semester in this space. I wanted to first, introduce myself. I'm Rafael Gonzalez. I'm the director of the Mathematics and Statistics Students of Sex Center. Very long title. And also the advisor for the Department of Mathematics. I have here my assistant director for the Center for MSW in short, Anthony Chumango. I have the chair of the math department, Joseph Vera, and then some faculty members here who are also very involved with our students, Professor Johnson, Professor Allen, and the backbone of the department, Mr. Martin Florent. Yes, that's right. I understand. Then we also have Ms. Bonilla over here. It's going on. As well. And joining us virtually, we have Professor Magnussen, who began spearheading these efforts at Lehman with help of Professor Vera to bring our actuarial science minor as well as our certificate program here to the college. Today we have a very nice presentation from members of the team at Berkshire Hathaway Specialty Insurance. They also have very long names, so for sure we call it VHSI. I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. I want to thank them for coming. They are here to get to know you guys as students, us as faculty. They want to partner with us, and we want to partner with them. So it's very nice that we're here. We treat them well. They sent us our information. And then you ask questions. There's a lot of questions that you may have that you think only you have it. Make sure you ask them. Some people may be too shy to ask. Like Johnson said, everybody gets up when the first person gets up to get a pizza. Make sure you guys ask questions. Okay? I'll turn over the floor to them. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is our first in-person kind of studency type thing, so it's super exciting to be in person. And I was not feeling nervous, and then I heard Professor this and Professor that, and I'm like, not so bear with us for a little bit. Can we go to the, I think we have our names on there. Probably yes. Okay. So John, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm John Rowe. I'm in an SVP at Berkshire Hathaway, based here in New York, and I'm not a math major by trade. But I am in the underwriting department, which at Berkshire Hathaway we kind of assess risk and work very closely with our actuarial colleagues that we'll kind of get into a bit later. I come to it. Berkshire Hathaway in the insurance industry, from a business background. I majored in marketing actually. I thought I would be like sports marketing, working for the Knicks or something, and didn't end up working out. So I kind of heard about this insurance industry, which has led to a lot of great career. And I think I'm probably in the majority in insurance, I don't necessarily major in insurance. So it definitely is a diverse set of backgrounds coming into the industry. So yeah, very happy to be here. I've done some of these events virtually with Lehman students, and it's really cool to be in person with you all. So thanks for having us.
And my name is Pauline Phillip. I am at the FCAS thing. I am a fellow of Casualty Actuarial Society. Every time I give any kind of talk, my boss is like, "Did you tell them what CAS stands for?" Casualty Actuarial Society. I'm a VP in actuarial, and the line of business that I work on is, we call it executive and professional lines. Other companies call it financial lines. We'll get into a little bit more later, like exactly what that is. Quick question. Who here is vaguely thinking about being a math teacher? Anyone? What you guys? So I started off as a math teacher. I spent 2 years teaching high school level math in London and 1 year in Texas, which was, let me tell you, some kind of culture. But then I ended up moving to New York because my husband just got yada, and thought, I don't know about New York public schools. And so I transitioned, and full respect, 100% respect to those that do it, 100%. But I wanted to go ahead and do something a little bit different, and so that's how I got into the actuarial field, and I'm so very glad that I did.
My name is Chris. I'm an actuarial assistant apparently. This is my boss.
Please,
I don't really know.
hopefully that's.
So I've been at the AP side for 4 months now.
Yep.
So I started as an intern and now I decided to keep so you've been, well, you're doing something, right? Yeah, I'm doing something, right? Yeah. So cool thing about me is actually I went to Lehman. I graduated from Lehman, and actually I was sitting where you guys are sitting. They came and did this presentation, and I applied to their little internship program, and I'm here now on the other side. So I'm trying to give you guys a cool.
Okay, so this is what we're going to try and cover today, but honestly, like it's a lot of material, and if we don't get through it all, that's completely fine, because I'd actually rather hear questions, feedback from you guys. But we wanted to make sure we had enough to talk about. It got really we'll go over what is an actuary, why an actuary, what kind of skills do you need to become an actuary. I think perhaps the most important one is like, how do you become an actuary? It's hard work. Putting that out there, it's hard. And then how we can find out more. If we get to resume and interview tips, cool, but I'm guessing I won't have time for that. Okay.
Yeah, so, we figured we'd start with this abstract question that, hoping to get some audience participation here, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be a super buttoned up answer. But when people hear insurance, what do you think of? What is insurance? Coverage. Coverage, great answer.
Oh,
Well, there's different types of insurance.
you're right.
It's holiday insurance, house insurance, medical insurance.
Yes.
Life insurance. Medical insurance.
Security, yeah, great.
Kind of a small balance. It's usually there, or waiting for it's there if you need it, but generally, or most of the time, they're hoping to build money.
Yeah, so we have actuaries too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I claimed on my renter's insurance one time.
No, I mean, these are all great answers, right? And I think, for me, before I got into it, when I heard insurance, I just thought of like life insurance, health insurance, auto insurance. I never realized what a wide world there is of insurance out there, and especially how intricate the commercial insurance world, which is where Berkshire Hathaway, we largely sit in. We're an organization that companies can buy insurance from, and any company can buy anywhere from 8 to 10 different types of coverage. That you have a whole team of people at our firm that are pricing the risk, servicing the risk from a claims perspective, and managing the book of business broadly. And every insurance company, whether you're doing commercial insurance like we are, or your life insurance or auto insurance or anything, basically what you're trying to do is figure out how much you're going to pay in claims and add a little bit of profit in there and charge a premium that covers claims, profit, and expenses, which again sounds kind of simple, but it's very hard to do correctly. And that's why the actuaries play such a vital role in every insurance organization. So I think we're going to get more into it, kind of how exactly they fit into the company and how many different ways they can help an insurance company operate.
I think the key point, or one of the key points I keep raising this, is that like you're going to be paying for your insurance before you get any benefit at all from it, apart from like maybe a vague sense of security, right? So it's kind of tricky to figure out how much you're going to charge for that. Because, you know, like if I was in a factory and I'm making widgets, I know what my cost of materials is, I know what my labor is, I can roughly work out like how much it's gonna cost me to make it, and I can then work out the price. That's not exactly how insurance works, because I don't know how much it's going to cost me until months, years, sometimes even decades later after I sold it to you. So. Next. Okay, so what is an actuary? This is what I say when one of the parents on the playground asks me, what's it? Like, well, I'm a risk professional. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of, so yeah, it's business. Like it's a professional career, it's a white collar career, we're working in offices all day, every day. You know, it's usually pretty peaceful, which is quite nice. And yeah, we were analyzing and trying to like assess risk, and there's a lot of different ways to do that, a lot of different methodologies that we can use to do that. And what very often happens is that we will do months and months and months, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work, spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet, Access database, SQL database, whatever, and then we will send an email table in it. And that will be the final product of a lot of work. So we're taking like a lot of complicated information and data and condensing it down and assessing it, trying to figure out what's going on, and skinning it down to like a headline for somebody else to use in their decision-making process. If you had a different definition from your
That much? I just get the table. I didn't know that there's all this work behind it.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, sometimes we write bullet points. But I don't know if you had a different perspective from like your end on what an actuary is, but that's kind of how I think about it as an actuary.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna get more into it in a few slides about how you help me in a lot of ways, so.
Next, unless there are questions. If I've made a complete hash of that, please tell me.
This sounds very familiar, or not familiar, but it's working risk management.
Mhm.
This sounds like a risk management coordinator just for the insurance side.
It's not, we're not really coordinating, we're kind of, so John is going to talk to the risk managers of any individual company and negotiate a deal with them. Like, this is the policy that you need, this is the coverage that we're going to provide, this is, you know, that's John's role. My role is to kind of tell John how much he needs to charge in order for us to be profitable in the long term. That's my role. But there are other actuarial roles.
And so where, like, what aspect of risk management do you work in? What kind of company?
I was in a hospital, I worked in the legal division, I pretty much just manage any claims or
Oh, fair.
things like that.
So in a way, Archie's like predictive maintenance kind of thing.
I don't know that exact term, but I feel like I can get there. That is kind of what they do, like, because like Pauline said, we don't know the cost of goods sold when we sell a product. So you have to try to predict based on a ton of data points that as an organization and an actuarial team are kind of pulling together to try to predict how I'm going to do that. So I think it's a good word. I think we should add that to the slide.
Yeah, we should have a word class. That's what we'll do next time. Word class. Okay, next slide. All right, so there are two like branches in the actuarial field. I am, as I said, CAS, actuarial. I'll get in trouble with that one. So I'm a member of the CAS, and so what we do is we take care of property and casualty insurance. So like property insurance is yes, your homeowners, your like marine, like if you're sending out a ship onto the sea and the storm takes it away, who's going to be reimbursed for that? Third party insurance, so I trip and fall on the sidewalk outside and I sue Doug because he didn't maintain the sidewalk appropriately. He's gonna need some kind of insurance to cover him for against the lawsuit that I'm gonna bring with my super expensive lawyer. So that's the CAS, that's kind of the areas of insurance that we cover. It's a smaller group, I looked at other stuff, and there's about 9,000 members who are either associates or fellows of the CAS. We're better paid, or at least that's what the stats say. And it's shorter term, right? So that our policies are typically like 1 to 3 years. Things are changing a lot more quickly. We're a lot more like susceptible to like the market is hard, the market is soft. What is it doing? What is the pricing doing? What's going on? There's a lot more kind of economics in it. Whereas the SOA, which is a Society of Actuaries, They take care of life insurance, pensions, health insurance. There's a lot more of them than us. I don't know the number, but there's more of them than us. They're looking at things long term. How long is it going to take until you die? And from now until you're dead, how much are you going to cost me in terms of health insurance? If you retire tomorrow, how much am I going to have to pay on your pension? Like it's like decades, whereas we're kind of 1 year, good, carry on, that's fine. So that's kind of the main difference there. You can, if you're interested in either, you can take a couple of exams and kind of get started on the journey and then figure out where you're going to go next. I'll be honest, I took 2 exams and then I applied for a bunch of jobs and I got a property and casualty job and that's where I stayed. And I'm glad it worked out that way, but honestly, that's how most people do it. It's you take a couple of exams and then wherever you land, job-wise is where you stay. So. Any questions on that one? Cool. Is there something else?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we probably touched upon most of this actually. We're just talking about what to actually do when you're at work. So if you just read through this, we have property and casualty, we have life insurance, health insurance, pension, retirement, and investment. And you can see like the mass of it is really pricing and premium, seeing what we should select to charge people and stuff like that. But that's kind of more important people's roles. So in this slide, what I'm trying to tell you is what I do as an entry-level actuary. So when I came in as an entry-level actuary, pretty much my goal was to get good at coding. Right? It's all coding, right? So for us, we use mainly 2 languages, SQL, which helps us talk to our databases, and then Excel has its own little coding language called VBA. So that's like majority of my work. Like 80% of my work is in Excel and coding and fixing. So pretty much we have these tools that underwriters will use to help price a product. And then they might have suggestions like, oh, if you add this, it'll be way more beneficial to us. Oh, something's broken here in the program, something's broken here, something needs improvement. My goal currently is right now to just go in there, try and fix these problems as much as I can. And I think what's going to happen is right now I only have 3 exams passed. So I think the more experience I get, the more exams I pass, the more important projects I'll start to receive, maybe if you trust me enough.
To be clear, what you do is important.
It is important.
It is important. It's being used.
Can you tell us which 3 exams you have passed?
Yes, actually, we have a slide there. Yeah. Don't. I got you covered. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so like we said, so property and casualty, that's our field. So there's kind of 2, again, within there, there's kind of 2 branches, right? So the first one is the pricing side of things, which we'll inevitably talk about more because that's what we do. Because we're always trying to figure out how much should we charge to cover the cost of the potential future claims that we don't know about yet. But then there's another sort of area within it where, for accounting purposes, okay, like we wrote this many policies for a given year, we've had this many claims so far. How much money do we need to put on our balance sheet to cover the cost of the rest of the claims that are going to come in on that particular group of policies? And so that's what the reserving actuaries do, and we spend a lot of time kind of doing the analysis, coming up with a decision about how much money should be held to cover the cost of the claims, and then they'll write up a statement and pass on that information to the board of directors or the management team of the insurance company, and then the management team are the ones who actually decide how much money they're going to hold, but they're going to do it on the advice of the actuaries. And I think that's a very consistent story. So I could tell John all day, you have to charge this much money for this much risk, but he's going to be like, well, we might be one of that, and it's his decision. Yeah.
Are you actuaries on the management?
Yes, great question. So we have the 4 founding fathers, I call them, of our company, because we're relatively new, we started in 2013. Of the 4, 2 of them are trained as actuaries. Their roles are not actuarial roles technically anymore, but they have actuarial roles.
And then we have a global chief actuary that sits on the senior management team as the 4 founders plus another 8 or 10 senior execs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's 2 actuaries on the
How many employees does BHSI currently have? Yes.
About 1,400.
Oh.
Yeah. And we all have our teammate numbers. We all know what number we are.
Yeah, prisoner number, teammate number.
What number are you?
I honestly don't know.
It's also confusing because interns don't get a number, but now that you're full-time, you have an assigned number, which is probably 1,800 or something.
Where's Warren Buffett and all?
He did come to a company outing, we met him.
Yeah.
It was cool, I was in Florida about it. My Josh was like this big, I was like, can I? Turns out,
Yeah, so he kind of sits at the head of Berkshire Hathaway Inc., right? And that's, I think, 100 plus or minus a couple different operating companies. Several of which are insurance, of which BHSI is one, but then he also owns like a freight rail company, energy company, there's a whole bunch of other assets. But insurance has always been very core to his business.
Margaritaville, no, that's a different one.
That's nothing good.
he does have a lot of shares in Dairy Queen, and so when we come company shindigs, we get.
Yeah, free dairy queen and Seas Candy is one of those too that we get a lot of samples of.
Sorry.
So they are for. Yeah, exactly.
There are, but it's a very expensive conscious company, so not so many. Yeah, so then a couple of other roles that actuaries can take. So the next 1, 2, 4, 3-ish are more around like what the SOA actuaries would do. So again, pricing the life insurance, again, figuring out how much you need to hold. So life insurance, same thing with health insurance. If I was an SOA actuary, I think I'd want to do health insurance. It's interesting, but and then again, like retirement systems. So again, a lot of pricing and figuring out how much should you have. And we're very much like, okay, here's the information, here's the data, here's the answer, quote unquote. Now you make the decision. Like my boss often describes what we do is we're holding up a mirror to the decision makers and saying, this is what it is. Now you decide. But we have to like explain. Sometimes we have to do explanation of what's involved.
Do you guys use any machine learning models?
I think there's 1 or 2 that are doing, so what we generally work on is like quite unique deals. And so we don't end up with an awful lot of data. So machine learning is not all that helpful for us, but there are other areas within BHSI where we have like, so our travel insurance branch, I think is doing a little bit with machine learning. Just because they've got a lot more policies, a lot more claims, just a lot more, it's small, but it's, you know, high frequency, low severity, so then they have more data to do a little bit. But me, no.
Programming time, so you're learning SQL and VBA, you said?
Yeah.
Is any of the members that you did, or is anybody doing automation for any of the parts for actuary? Do you have any proof for that?
What do you mean by it?
Yeah. That's what you know.
That's where there are certain tasks that you can essentially have a premium program run through to make a, let's say, an estimate that you're running. You can do a specific set of things to estimate something, and you can set your numbers in and see what the values come to. Do you have any group that actually programs or pre-programs things that you can plug in specific numbers and it'll give you an estimation?
Clear. Clear.
Yeah, so this is that test function essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we build tools, that's what Chris is working on right now, it's like adding enhancements to one of our existing tools. So it already like talks to our electronic data warehouse data. Pulls in a query, it pulls in like, so stuff that would have previously been entered by hand, so the submission number, the insured name, policy effective date, like very basic pieces of information will be called in automatically. So I guess that's automation from that perspective, and then it will run essentially a very simple pricing algorithm. Okay, take the revenue, multiply by a number, take the limit and the attachment point, come up with another number, do a multiplication. It's all adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing. It's very simple math, but then it's going to come out with an answer at the end. And yeah, I guess the other thing we do is we automatically price every publicly traded company once a quarter and see how much we would charge them for their directors. Super fun process.
And that, I think, not to deviate too much from the actuarial side, but our operations team globally uses a lot of automation. Because the quicker we can take a risk and get it like through our company, like the less expense it is to service it. So we've been able to bring down our expense ratio, which is a key metric of our profitability based on using automation, but not necessarily on the pricing side of the house, more on like the operations and getting things set up. And this is, kind of a slide about how actuaries, support underwriters individually and also the management team. Our job at a high level, again, is to kind of take in risk and assign a price and a structure and, a terms and conditions of the contract that'll result in us being profitable. So the way actuaries support us is, one, they design our rating models, right? So the model that my team uses every single day has been actuarial. They set it up, they update it, and it's essentially a bunch of inputs based on data points, and it spits out some pricing where we have, a little bit of deviation off what the model says. But that's, probably the single biggest day-to-day support that we get is the rating models we use based on the type of insurance that we're looking at. And then also there could be a risk that is just super complicated and kind of breaks the model, right? It doesn't quite fit. We don't think it gives an accurate price, and that's when we'll engage the actuaries more individually. They'll help us look at the data and help us come up with kind of a bespoke price for that individual risk, which is, hugely helpful, especially in the types of business that have a lot of claims. And then I'll also sit down with our actuaries and kind of look at a portfolio view, right? They'll kind of help me look at our loss experience and kind of trend things forward, and are we doing it right or not? Like, are we getting it right, across the portfolio, or are there things we need to tweak? And then also they help me look at the industry to try to identify loss trends, right? Like I can read the news every day and say, hey, it seems like there's a lot of, claims activity on trucking risks in Texas. Like, let's look at all the data we've collected over 9 years and see if that, trend is actually true. So that's another thing that I work a lot with Pauline and her team on, and it's a great process. And I think the actuaries, at Berkshire, they love getting involved in the business side of it too, and help like driving decisions that we make. So that's been a great, collaborative process for me as an underwriter over the past 9 years.
Yeah, or is it like everyone likes to make a joke that actuaries like super shy and nerdy, like this sort of stereotype. And I will say, I think like maybe drinking the corporate Kool-Aid a little bit, but like the Berkshire actuaries are a bit different. Like we are a little bit better at the communication and the written and like verbal communication.
I have brought actuaries to meet with my customers. That never happens in the industry. We're trying to break the mold here. So I think next slide, probably.
Yeah, okay, so this was kind of the other branch of the CAS actuaries that I was talking about. So this is loss reserve. This is trying to figure out like how much money needs to be held in order to cover the price. I think I kind of already covered this one, so stick on this for too long.
Audit committee, that's a new point.
Oh yeah. Oh right, yeah. So I think it's kind of, again, I sort of mentioned this. So the chief reserving actuary will do all of the analysis, come up with his like proposed number. He will compare it to how much money the company is actually holding, and then he's going to write a formal legal or written statement saying, "I, the chief actuary of BHSI, I think that the reserves being held by the company are adequate. I think they are inadequate, or I do not have enough information to form an opinion." And we are a self-governing body, so like that statement carries, like, he's not going to lie on that statement. If he does, he's out at the CAS and it'll be over. Like it's a serious thing. And so we are, like, to that degree, we're quite independent of management. And I think, again, this is one of the things that I do like about working at Berkshire Hathaway, is because we've got actuaries on the board and the management team. There's usually very little argument or debate around it. It's like, oh, Sean says it should be this, okay, it's fine. So, cool. Yeah, another role you can get into as an actuary. I haven't really worked with this one too much, so I don't really have a great sort of handle on it, but yeah, it's just kind of assessing whether the company has enough like Because it can become a little bit of a game of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. So if one line of business is doing really well and another line of business is doing well, you know, you can kind of borrow from one to cover the other, but then does that make sense if one of them is long term, one of them is short term? So one. Oh yeah, reinsurance. Does anyone know what reinsurance is? Well, neither do we don't use it at Berkshire. So insurance is, you know, like, so I'm insurer A, you can be Berkshire. I'm insurer A, I have written a whole bunch of property coverage in, let's say. And then I go, ooh, I get a hurricane or two down there. I think I would like to spread the risk. So then I'm gonna go to you as my reinsurer, and I'm gonna say, please, can you take some of this risk? And you're gonna take my book of business and you're gonna analyze it and go, yes, but you have to pay me this much money. And so there's roles for actuaries on both sides. There's like the insurance company buying more insurance to cover themselves from another insurance. So that's what reinsurance is. And it's cool to be a reinsurance actuary because you get to see a bunch of data from a bunch of different places, but it's also not very good data. So I don't know if it's yeah, it's going to be a lot less like detailed and a lot less easier to work with because it's sort of challenges of being an insurance actuary, and also their offices are in Midtown. Yeah, I guess we have this picture, but maybe it's just kind of embedded in some other spots. But yeah, so enterprise risk management, this is where you can kind of bring in and maybe a little bit more of the modeling stuff. So it's kind of trying to figure out like, okay, so what is coming down the pipe? So things that we might not have expected was that, what's that thing with the BPA in the bottles? Like that was the thing, everyone was very worried about BPA for a long time, and now it's PFAS or something. Everyone's super duper worried about that. No idea what it stands for. But your enterprise risk management people are going to be like looking down the road and like far long distance stuff, wouldn't have data on it necessarily, but trying to figure out like, what is it, when's it going to come, is it going to impact us, do we need to worry about this, do we need to charge for this, do we need to adjust our reserves for this? They're the people that we should have picked up asbestos, you know, that kind of stuff. So another role for actuaries, enterprise risk management. Hopefully I'm getting the point across. There's a bunch of different things you can do as an actuary, not just be a price actuary. Cool. All right, so what skills are needed? Yeah, you have to analyze stuff. You have to be okay with numbers. You have to probably like spreadsheets. Although if you're really into coding and you don't like spreadsheets, that's fine too. You need to be able to solve problems. Yes, there will be people to help you, but you have to have strong problem solving skills. You're not going to get very far if you're kind of staring at a spreadsheet going, If you have to have an idea of how to begin to slice and dice and figure out like how to get to the bottom of whatever the issue is. You need to have a good business sense. I'm not going to get on very well with John if I keep telling him, but you have to charge this much. And he's like, but the market won't let me. Like I have to understand the dynamic in his perspective as well. That, you know, the market won't allow him to charge what I'm saying, all that kind of stuff. We talked about communication skills already. Chris has kind of already covered the computer skills, and yeah,
I mean, I think the communication skills is a great one because, you know, for us non-actuaries, you know, actuaries, they try to be able to explain something they know that we might not understand in a very, like, I'm always like, Pauline, explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old. And then I'm like, actually, let's make it 5-year-olds. But you know, the actuaries on our team are very good at kind of explaining very complicated things to us in a way we can understand.
I have one. So in terms of the knowledge in finance, how much finance? How much
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's on there because I walked into my actuarial career going, huh, what's that sheet? So I think a lot of it does come through on the job training, and when we get onto it, you'll see like the exam process is very rigorous. We cover a lot. So. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys have it, but we'll be able to see like an example of the problem that you guys have solved.
I don't think we have a slide on that, but we could probably.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, because you mentioned many times that we analyze the data, so the question I have is.
Yeah.
As part of your process that you have to go out and get that data? And are you hiring other companies that have gotten that data and then you're just sifting through it, or do you actually have to go out and find the data yourself? And then part of the process is discussing what kind of data you should be collecting. So there's a lot of obviously data that's involved, but I'm more interested in how do you get the data? How do you determine which data you're gonna get? Talk to me about the data.
Data, I love.
It's a very exciting question for all.
Give me more data, give me more, like good. I don't think you do it, there's some other nameless underwriters will come and like, look, I've got 5 years of information, prices out, no. Out of here, not enough. So, yeah, so some of what we are using, so if I'm pricing an individual account, like a very large, complicated company, and we need to figure out how much premium we should charge them, we're gonna be using their own data. So how much revenue have they made? What's their revenue been for the past 10 years, and what claims have they individually as an account experienced for the past 10 years? What we have both done is we've taken all of that information and shoved it in a database, and then we can pull it back out and kind of slice and dice and figure out if there's trends. That's one thing to do. The other thing that we do is we sometimes purchase external data, but we still need to like clean it up, and there is a lot of data. I don't think I've made you do that.
Whole data. Yeah. Whole data.
Yeah, so we do sometimes buy data, and then the biggest challenge is validating that it's good. Then we usually want to try and join it onto our own data in some way, and that's always, I want to say nightmare, but it's tricky, right? It's challenging to take 2 disparate data sets together. So yes.
So data science and data analytics are great skill set for contracting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so some insurance companies will have separate teams, data science and actuarial. I personally don't see any need. Like, we are data scientists with insurance expertise. There's no need, you don't need data scientists.
Then, to expand a little bit more, like, underwriters have been deputized to collect the data. We're out there trying to find risks that we want to bring into Berkshire. We get what we call a submission from a broker, right? And even if we know we're not going to ever do business with that client, we still take all the data and give it to the actuarial team, and it's been put into a warehouse. So we collected over 9 years, just in, I think, casualty, $120 billion worth of claims that have helped us develop rates and raters. So it's kind of like underwriter to actuary, and then what they do with it in the back end, I don't know as well. But we're in charge of getting a lot of it.
Why the actuary? Some of this we've already kind of discussed, but I think we missed. So high earnings potential. There's a chart later. Let's see the chart. I cannot complain. I'll put it back. And then I think for me this was a big thing as well, because I was a career changer. Like, I had gone from being a teacher to kind of having to figure out my next steps in life, and it was relatively approachable and affordable to get started on the actuarial. It's not like, oh, you have to go pay for grad school, you have to pay for this, pay for that. Like, it's relative in comparison to some other options. It's relatively cheap to get started. And I'm a numbers person, so I really like structured exam processes. Okay, I do one, and then I do the next one, and then I do the next one, and then I get money if I do that one. So okay, and then keep going, and I like that kind of process. Right for me. And yeah, I mean, now that I'm in it, like, I love the interactions with the underwriters, with the other actuaries. That's what makes me happy to go to work each day. Virtually. Unless you want to say something about why you're an actuary.
We'll talk about that after.
Okay, yay, there's the chat. Okay, so D.W. Simpson is one of the major like actuarial recruiting firms, and they collect data. And as an actuary, I feel obligated to tell you that this is obviously collected data and is most likely to be biased. However, it goes up. The line goes up. And the numbers on the side are like, they have 6 digits in them. So, you know,
Top number and the.
200.
Wow.
So this is for students. You get called a student, an actuarial student, until you become an associate or a fellow. So you could be somebody with 5 or 6 plus years experience and still be called a student, and still be on the job. Yep. And this is, I think this chart might be a little bit out of date. It was given to me by the CAS themselves, so I need to probably get back in touch with them. But yeah, they're claiming we make more than the estimate. Maybe because there's fewer of us. Demand and supply. Okay, so I think I talked a little bit about the exams, but I did want to kind of go into slightly more detail. So it's a journey. I don't know, is anyone ever played the game of life? I was think this chart looks like that. So each yellow circle is a major exam. And see there's 9, but they split exam 3 into 2 pieces, exam 4 into 2 pieces, so really there's 10. Most people will need to pass 1, maybe 2 to have a shot at getting an entry level role. You might get an internship with more exams. It depends on just environment. Each exam is between 3 and 4 hours, and they kind of say, and this was true in my case, that you need to study between 300 to 400 hours of study time to pass a 3 or 4 exam. So it's an investment of time for sure. And then in terms of the costs, the first exam, so it's exam P, which is the same as exam 1. So you can take that exam if you work with SLA or CAS. The exam fee is currently $225, and the material will run you around $150. You can spend more if you want. You can go to like a fancy seminar, or you can just buy the $150 textbook.
Or you can take the 2 classes we have here.
So yeah, there we go. That's the exact thing. It's a journey. It can take some time, especially as you get towards the later ones, because they only offer them like once a year. So like you could end up not being able to sit in exam for an entire year, which is kind of fast. But it's worth it.
How long did it take you to between 1 and 10 or 9?
Me?
Yeah.
6.5 years. Yes.
Can you comment on companies paying for your exam, giving you raises?
Yes. Is that on the next slide? Great question. So once you've got like which you should give to add land next level role, and then from that point on, your company is going to pay you for study time. So you notice it says 80 to 120 hours of study time. You still have to study. You still have to study on your own time, but you will get paid company time. And you will get a raise or a bonus for each exam that you pass. So you'll wrap it, and that's why the line does that. And it will vary from company to company, but like my boss definitely does like market research to make sure that our program is commensurate with the industry. So it's, you know, these are rough figures, but most companies will offer something to that.
So I made the slide for everyone. So I know that you guys have a minor in actuarial science. This was after I graduated, right? So I took the classes that I took that helped me with passing the 3 exams that I've taken. So these are the classes that you should know what they're talking about at least and have a good understanding. Like if you can take these classes and you can draw a picture of what they're talking about, then you're good and you can pass these exams, right? So the first one obviously is calc, right? Good. You know how to take a derivative or something like that. Calc 2, a lot of our exams are taking the area under a curve. So you got to be good at integration, especially integration by parts. Vector calc is 4th exam. Linear algebra, it's just like hints of stuff here and there. You got to know how to, deal with when you're doing like regression and stuff like that, or if you're dealing with like determinants and stuff. But obviously the big one here is I think it's still called Math 330. And I think all of these classes are also prerequisites for the ones in the, maybe in the actual.
You only need to actually take calculus 1 and calculus 2, take probability, and then we have a second probability.
Yeah, I read through the descriptions of each minor, the 4 classes or whatever for the minor, and they all pretty much they have all this kind of material in there. So this is the big one, math, the probability one. You got to take it, and you got to know what the heck they're talking about, because that's what everything is built upon. And then PDs, it's just like, you just got to get the general idea of how they're splitting the area. You know, sometimes you split it north to south, sometimes you go west to east. So it's not that too big a video, but what I did on the next slide is I try to break it apart per exam. So I've only taken 3, so here are the material that you need to know for the 3 exams. So clearly FM is exam 2, but you need only not that much knowledge for it. So guess which one I took first, right? I took FM because you don't need to know much. Honestly, the whole test is based off of geometric series, stuff from calculus. That's it, geometric series. And it's super easy. So exam 1 is just all probability. So that's right, you got it again. Oh my gosh. I didn't know. Oh, I did bring it again. Okay, so sometimes they have prep classes, okay? They have prep classes when you're trying to pass these exams. I signed up for something called Coaching Actuals, and they give you like a little guide for the exams. So these are for exam P, what you need to know, exam FM, and exam 3. This is the study guide, right? So I'm gonna pass these around, you guys can take a look at it.
Don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic, it's not bad. A lot of it looks like a lot. It looks like a lot, but you can boil it down to like a handful of equations, trust me. So I'm gonna start with you.
You said you took exam 2 first?
I took exam 2 first, then I took exam 1, and then I took exam 3.
Just because you know, selfish plug here, we're running financial math in the spring term, because of Johnson. We're also running probability in the spring term. We're also running PDE, partly regular equations in the spring term, and the advanced probability course. Lots of classes.
Yeah. And like I said, you don't have to like be a master at it, but you just have to have a general idea. I feel like a lot of my job is not really like, oh, you gotta be, I mean, I'm still empty level. It's not like you gotta be really good at this, but you just have to have a general idea of how to solve problems. And the only way you can solve problems is by experiencing different types of problems. In each one of these classes, it's like a different angle of approaching such problem. You know what I mean?
Last time we spoke, we talked about it, you were kind of learning use the word jargon. Yeah, you taught me we'll talk after.
Oh.
How do you kind of like study the terminology for these terms? I'm not sure if they use the.
So we have, we have the online course. I actually think it's in the wrong spot. So it should probably be a little bit earlier in the process. In fact, I encourage Chris to take his online course like right now. He was studying on the train on the way here. It covers a lot of the jargon. And I myself, I realized that the first thing I need to do whenever anyone walks in the door fresh is like, okay, and we're going to learn what an insurance policy is, and we're going to learn what premium is, we're going to learn what a claim is, and then effectively we basically start with words.
So pretty much when I started my internship, I just knew how to add in. So, but I had 3 exams passed. So I feel like a lot of it is learning on the job, and then when you start taking some of these online courses and later exams, you'll learn all this jargon. But for these exams, they are not really too particular on the insurance. It's mainly math. So, well, you said.
So we don't have to go through them interactively, like 1, then 2, and then 3, but we can take them in order.
Pretty much.
So all of them, or is that only up to a certain?
Sorry?
So Would I take them in the order up to like exam 3, or can I take them in the order?
Well, so the only sort of caveat is if you haven't yet landed your first entry level role, you don't want to take MAS 1 or MAS 2 because those are specific to the Casualty Actuarial Society. The only ones that work for both CAS and SOA are 1 and 2.
So,
So most people start with them, but like, what order do you want to do them in this?
so passing the 3 exams guarantees.
Guarantee is a strong word. I mean, if you have a good GPA and you have passed a couple of exams, you have a strong resume, and you are a reasonable human being upon interview, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to get an internship.
I feel like I shouldn't be asking questions, but is 3 table stakes? Like, does everyone have 3 that's applying for entry level, or there's
Well,
people that have
I
2?
think 2 is fine because of the split. Like the SOA and the CS like to argue with each other. So there used to be more exams in common than there are now. So now I would say only do 2. Don't waste your time. Like, I'm happy you did 3, great. But like everything he did on the 3rd exam is a wash because like that was an SOA specific exam, so now he has to take MAS instead.
So can I say something about it? So one thing I was having trouble, I was taking exams and I was looking for an internship. The problem is I was out of college already. And it's pretty much every single thing I applied to, they're like, we want someone who's in their junior or senior year of college. We want someone who's still a student, blah, blah, blah. So every time I applied, I got rejected. So that's the only reason. So what I'm trying to say is, I mean, I think you guys, if you guys are serious about it, you should be taking your college classes and probably taking 1 exam, studying for an exam, taking coaching actuaries to help you kind of really figure out what the heck is going on, because don't fall into my shoes where after post graduation, maybe the chances of you getting an internship.
I didn't do an internship. I went straight from part-time books I wrote once and then to entry-level actuarial role.
Sorry, another selfish plug here. We do have a program in our department that allows you to study into graduate. So if you're not quite done with any of the things in the portals, but you finish your undergraduate degree, you can just apply for our advanced certificate graduate program so that you don't have that gap year. You continue, take the courses you need to take, and then you can still move forward like Chris is suggesting. Good thing, you've got it covered.
That's good. To piggyback from what Professor Farrell was saying, I was one of those students that as an undergrad student, I took 3 classes that were basically transferred over into my grad level. So if you guys want to talk about it, definitely can. Right.
No, which time we got to now? Sorry for making you come back. Oh, there we go. We could go on to the next one. Yeah, so this is the CAS link, and they will probably reiterate pretty much everything that we just said. But it's in writing, so you know you can reference that. And I think might be, I don't know. Yeah, a couple more resources, LatinoActuaries.org, BlackActuaries.org. These organizations are pretty good. They'll offer scholarships and stuff to help cover the cost of fees. And I know IABA, for example, has like a bunch of boot camps and things to help people like really get both aspects, like the taking of the exams and also like the professional presentation of yourself, you know, in the actuarial community and that kind of thing. And beanactuary.org is another good place that can just kind of like break down like what is it that an actuary does. So we're at 5 to 5. I didn't really answer your question around what's the problem we would actually solve. So let me answer that question real quick. Okay, so a problem that I have handled recently, maybe you've got an example as well, John, so I have to be thinking, is so I was asked to go and assess the profitability of our book of business. So I went and I got the premium and I got the claims and matched them together. And then I had an argument with a discussion with the head of executive and professional lines around how we were going to do things. I won because his boss is an actuary. So we're looking at everything on a policy basis. And overall, we're okay, but there were a couple of pockets that were not doing very well. And I can tell that because my loss ratio is above 70-ish. Which means that I have $100,000 of premium and I have $100,000 of losses. That's a problem because I have to pay my operating expenses, I have to pay commission to my broker, and that means I'm losing money. So then my job is to say, okay, which bit is going wrong? And we narrowed it down to a particular segment. And then the question is, okay, so now we've figured out which segment it is that's gone wrong. What are we going to do about that? And so then that involves a deep dive on my part. So I'm going to go and say, okay, is it the big companies, small companies? Is it the companies that are in the Northeast, or is it the companies that are in the Southwest? I don't know the answer until I have sliced and diced the data. I do pivot tables all day, every day, trying to figure out like where is the issue. And then once I've kind of got an idea, I'm going to go to my claims people and I'm going to have a conversation with them and say, I see this in the data. Am I crazy? They usually agree or disagree. And then I'm going to go to the underwriters and I'm going to say, okay, me and the claims people think this. What do you think? So we start off with the analysis and then we move to the conversation. And past that point, it's kind of out of my hands and they're going to take it away and make some decisions around, okay, well, we're not going to write small companies anymore because they're terrible. We're not going to write in the Northeast anymore because that's also pretty bad. So we're basically going to target large companies on the West Coast.
I mean, the actuarial team has helped me solve so many problems. It's hard to even like think of one, but you know, so I'm in the casualty group in Berkshire, right? We have all different pockets of business that we write in. Oftentimes we do portfolio reviews where it'll be myself or another manager. They'll have somebody from our claims team, somebody from our risk engineering team, and then there's an actuary who's part of that group that's overseeing everything, right? So we look at the portfolio on a qualitative level and say, what do we think is leading to losses? And you know, then the actuary at the table will be like, all right, let's pull a subsection of the thousands of policies we've written and say, okay, let's look at these 30 accounts of what qualitative measures that we're talking about that could lead to loss. Like, let's run a regression and see if it's actually statistically significant. You guys think you're seeing this is actually happening? And then if yes, then we'll do it for the entire portfolio that can lead to us kind of refining our pricing. So we did that recently, you know, in the construction book of business, we have highway contractors that were causing us a lot of loss. We were trying to figure out what part of these risks are causing losses. And the actuaries helped us kind of get to the bottom of it a bit. So we kind of remediated the book of business over the past 2 years. Now we've done enough to kind of get that from being a loss leader for us to being profitable, but hopefully.
We'll let you know in about 10 years.
Long tail lines, so hopefully it works, but we got it in place.
So such information would not be passed on to another company that then solve the same problem. They don't share, not having science is a fear of research.
Not in the details, no. I mean, obviously the reserving actuaries are required to do the reporting, right? So there'll be like at the very high level, so like all third-party lines will be reported for the entire insurance industry. So that is publicly available information, and occasionally we do use that as a sense check for our analyses. But in terms of the detail, no, usually not. The only, I guess maybe the exception to that would be admitted business. So if we were, we report to ISO in Jersey season, and they will sell you data back again. So there is some information sharing there, but that's the sort of specific area.
Yeah.
So you said, we don't need graduate school to begin, you don't really need to be in school.
No, so there are a decent, I mean, apart from obviously you want to do the graduate transition.
I guess if you want it.
Yeah, it's a great program. I had wonderful things about it. No, I think the actuarial field is, there are quite a few people that can change into it because like the first barrier to entry is relatively minimal. It's not like going back to school to do a new 3 or 4 year degree or whatever. It's do some self-study and take a test, and then do some more self-study and take a test, and then start applying for jobs. So that from that sense, the barrier to entry is relatively low, but then the barrier to succeed, to get all the way to the end of the journey is pretty high.
Just a quick question, there are people in the industry who don't ever go through all of the steps though.
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah, I mean.
Stop at a certain point and they
Yep.
continue to work in that area and have very fulfilling careers.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and that's to a degree, that's kind of why I brought John on, because I'm like, you don't have to be an actuary to have a lot of fun in the insurance industry. Like, he definitely gets more perks, travel, and nice things out, and I can. So underwriting is awesome, claims handling, there's a lot of roles that you can take. So if you want to ask exactly those.
I was never an actuary, but there are actuaries that have also pivoted to other parts of the company, other parts of the industry. One of our former colleagues works on the risk management team at Google.
Yeah.
That's done really well there, so it gives you a great baseline for kind of any direction you want to take in the insurance industry.
There's actuaries at Uber as well.
Risk management department, what would be like the minimum price?
As opposed to actuarial, so we don't have a risk.
That would make sense considering you do the risk management rather than.
Yeah, we're kind of selling.
Yeah.
Like risk mitigation. So, I think some larger companies will have actuaries in their risk management teams.
Yeah, there's definitely like Fortune 500 tech companies that have risk management groups of, dozens of people. They'll have some actuaries in there to help. Because a lot of them will take their own risk. It's actually more cost effective for them to self-insure to a certain level. So they need an actuary to help kind of forecast what their losses are going to be. That goes right to their financials.
Okay.
I don't know where you guys are in like your actuary journey, but are you guys ready to continue? Like this move? You guys continue like the example for it.
I'm done.
Right, I'm good. Right.
When I got to my last exam, I started sobbing and I was so worried because it's like, did you fail? I'm like, no, I'm just so happy I don't have to study again. So,
I think. But here's the thing, it's like, if it's very math intensive, I'm 1000% with. Is when I started getting more like insurance and debt management, that's not like, but so far from what I can tell, exam 4 will also be math heavy, so I'm excited. So yes, I'll keep going. I love math.
the base ones, there's some history in there, which is kind of cool, and then it gets into the economics, it's also kind of cool. So
You just gotta have that mindset where you're always going.
I think we should, I was gonna say, I think we should thank. We could get some pizza, hang out, fall, feed the pizza, or else it's just gonna go bad.
I'm gonna bring the formalism. You guys, I don't know if Don this will hang around for a little while, maybe that's okay. Well, sure. You Jack. I want to make sure we thank you very much for coming. It's great to be here.
Like, what should we be?
I think
This whole thing is about I was obsessed with
when it was open, they're still open, when it was open. And it's out. All of that was. Yeah. It labs, I hope that you. And I don't know, it's like a modicum. I completed the license.
I hope it's like that.
Like we're good. Yeah.
We've been on any of the same. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's better in person, right? You know, the video.
You're getting excited about it. Yeah, I should be next.
I want to.
Why do you even go to front?
No. My dad was in the RAFs.
When did you pass your lesson? That was at Berkshire.
Yeah, I like.
Common things. Common stepping stone.
I think it's almost not like it's been.
15 to 20 years ago, there was hundreds of. Frustrating after a while. I guess it's like the county going to take over. We're not.